It's not greasy. I just got out of the shower. Hey kids, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank, hoping that you are having a great day. And in today's video, I wanted to sit back, relax with you guys, and have a follow-up discussion to a video I released about 4 months ago now, where I discussed the newest Star Wars Unlimited trading card game, my thoughts and fears about it, and I asked the question, will this card game survive the year? And in that video, I was quite pessimistic about it, and I've received plenty of responses to that video since then. It's one of the most popular on the channel. It's brought in plenty of people, both for and against the game, and in the months since that video was released, I've paid a bit of attention to the overall state of the Star Wars market, not just their singles but new releases, and I want to discuss just some of my thoughts now, just a few months later. I know it hasn't been a whole year yet, so, it's not a proper follow-up video, and I'm sure that I will be making a 1 year later video at some point. But for now, let's just talk about Star Wars as it is right now and where I see it going. But before we get into it, we have to ask a very important question. Can Uncle Frank be wrong? Yes. Yes, I can be wrong. I can't see the future. I'm not some super robot who has all the data points ever and can form some crazy calculations based on it. And I am by no means a super skilled market whiz who can plot out the course of any given card game and where its finances will go in the future. All I can do is look at the information I have received and make predictions based off of that and see whether or not I'm right. A lot of people seem to think that I have something against the Star Wars Unlimited card game and that I don't like it very much. And that's not entirely true. I think it's a fine game. I've played a bunch of games since releasing that video. But what I can say is that what I have seen since that video does not inspire me with an extreme amount of confidence. The most recent release for the card game has been Jump to Light Speed, which, if you look at the secondary market sales and on TCG Player, eBay, and places like that, it looks on the surface like the game is going strong. There are some really good sales, especially for the sealed product, especially those Carbonite boosters, and a lot of highly playable cards are selling with a pretty good consistency, I'd say. At least better than cards from like the World of Warcraft, TCG, or, man, Wixos. Get like no Wixos sales. But at the surface, on a surface level, it does look like the game is fairly healthy and that sales are booming and everything's doing good and that boxes are moving pretty fast. However, if you take a deeper look at the price ranges of the boxes in particular, there is some cause of concern. You see, Star Wars Unlimited has started releasing Carbonite booster boxes, which is their analog to the collector booster boxes from Magic the Gathering. And it's got the same overall idea behind it. It's a premium booster that costs more but gives you more bang for your buck, in theory. And I know that there's going to be people out there who say that it's not anything to be worried about because look at Magic. Magic has collector boosters and it's been very successful. But it's important to remember that Magic is the largest card game on the planet and they can afford to make what I believe is a terrible business decision. Because I do believe that collector boosters and other premium variant sealed products are a bad idea. And here's why. They cannibalize your own audience in terms of what they're going to be buying in terms of sealed product. Your audience only has so much money and only so much time. And if you give them the option between a cheaper box that has less in it or a more expensive box that has better and cooler things in it, a lot of them, especially those with with more pocket money, I should say, with more money to spend, they're going to go after the more expensive option just because they want to get more bang for their buck. And we've seen this in Magic. We saw the death of the draft booster in real time. In under 2 years, I think, it went from introducing collector boosters to draft boosters being phased out because nobody's buying them. And Wizards tried to frame that in some silly way, but the fact of the matter was they introduced collector boosters and draft product started suffering as a direct result. And we're seeing that in Star Wars as well. I've looked at the sales numbers and I've looked at the price tags attached to those sales numbers, and you'll see that since pre-orders opened for Jump to Lightspeed, while the Carbonite boosters have stayed relatively stable, you can see a rather stark decline in the prices for the normal booster boxes, going from 110 down to 75. And a huge part of that is players being cannibalized, player pocketbooks being cannibalized by the Carbonite boosters. And yeah, there's, of course, the post-release slump that every TCG experiences. I'm not going to pretend that that doesn't exist and it's not playing a factor, because it is playing a factor. Almost every release for every card game does that in some way. But with Star Wars Unlimited, you can see with this newest set that it's a very clear slope downward, which is, for some people, something that they tend to pay attention to when looking at the long term. Now, you guys know my opinion in terms of product discounts. I'm the kind of guy who absolutely loves when a box comes out and it dips $25, $35 overnight, over a short period even. I love that because it means more cheap product for me, right? But at the same time, while I do love that, it also gives me pause and makes me think, is this sustainable? Because you have to remember, on the surface, you can go, well, the boxes are still selling, right? They are still selling. But they're selling less. And if you're a game store and you have two products, you only have so much liquid cash. You've got two products, one of them is selling way better than the other. You're not really going to look at the difference in prices between the two products. You're going to see that one of them is selling pretty well out the gate, and that the other is losing value over a small time period right after release, and not a lot of people are buying it in comparison to the other item. If you're a game store, you're going to see that, and it's going to influence all of your future purchases for that card game. You're going to buy one particular product over the other almost every single time, because you only have so much money. And as a game store, you're trying to maximize your profits pretty much with every single set release. There's obviously going to be game stores out there who are going to buy things just because they like them. I'm the same. I buy plenty of crazy crap just because I want it. But for the hardcore business game stores, they're not going to be seeing Star Wars Unlimited booster boxes dipping to $75 and going, yes, I want more of that. They're going to be going, okay, I'll buy the Carbonite boosters from now on and see what sells. So that's a major point of concern for me. It's just really, it's really uncomfortable to see a card game damage its own market share by destroying its entry point product, which is what booster boxes are, like it or not. Booster boxes are how most players get into a given card game, because they'll buy it, build a deck out of what they pull, build a small collection, and then try to play the game as best they can. If they are disincentivized from buying that same sealed product, and over time buy less of it, sooner or later that product disappears from shelves entirely as the stores stop buying it, and then the company stops releasing it, leaving players with only the more expensive Carbonite booster box option. And yeah, that is a worst case scenario kind of thing. Everything kind of has to move in a particular direction for that to happen. But it is a possibility that is on my radar. And it is something that I am slightly concerned about when it comes to this card game, because I need to reiterate, I don't want Star Wars Unlimited to fail. I don't want any card game to fail, except Magic, for various reasons. I want the TCG market, the TCG ecosystem, to be as diverse as possible so that players have a lot of options to jump between when games like Magic the Gathering get to their low points. You know, one game does a bit bad for a few weeks, so players get to jump to another game for its new release, which is awesome for Neopets. Play Neopets, it's fun. You know, I've had people comment on my previous video that, oh, you just don't like this very much. And that's not really true. I do think Star Wars Limited isn't as good as it could be. I've got some problems with one of the core mechanics. Just one of them. I won't tell you what it is. But I don't hate the game, and I want it to be successful. And I am concerned with a few things I see about the game itself, but most specifically, it's these Carbonite boosters, which I don't think are good for the long-term health of the game, primarily in terms of sealed product. I don't think they're going to have any impact on the gameplay or anything like that. I just think that from a store perspective and from a collector perspective, it's a bad idea to have any kind of booster product that cannibalizes your own market share, because that's what this does. And if you don't believe me, you can head online, you can go to TCG Player yourself, you can look at the sales, you can look at the prices, you can look at the slopes and the reverse slopes that the Carbonite boosters pulled, and you can see where money is going for this card game. You can see what's people are buying and what they're selling. And it doesn't paint a good picture for the normal booster boxes right now. And I'm going to be honest, maybe that can change. Maybe the Carbonite boosters and the normal boosters will find some equilibrium, or maybe FFG will put a stop to the Carbonite boosters and just release normal product from now on and go about their day and try to make Star Wars Limited the best game it can possibly be. But for now, what I'm seeing is good, but with cause for concern. I'm not saying the sky is falling. I'm not saying that the game is dying this instant. But I am saying that there is something about it that worries me, and I think other people should be paying attention to it. And if they agree with my concerns, they should be voicing those same concerns to the company behind the card game, not to random people on the street, because nobody at your store is going to care if the booster boxes are selling less, honestly. Anywho, that's the video I wanted to do today, just a follow-up conversation to talk a bit more about Star Wars and my current thoughts about it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I do read every single comment, in case you guys are curious. I read every one of them, and I do appreciate you guys sharing what you think about the card game with me, whether you agree with me or not, because it's valuable input. It helps the algorithm, but it also helps me get a wider view of what other people think, because not everyone's going to share my opinions. And I think it's valuable to get as broad a scope as possible when you're discussing topics like this. But that's all I got for today. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you kids in the next one.